Welcome back to Boilers and Beyond. I'm Jordan Jones. I had an episode ready to go for this week, and we were going to take a deep look at the transfer portal and Purdue's biggest needs here as we get into the portal cycle starting on Friday, January 2nd. But since we talked last and since I departed for some holiday travel, some stuff has gone on that frankly, I think changed the overall tune of this episode to where, yes, we're still going to talk about the portal because this is a cycle that really is probably going to make or break Barry Odom's time at Purdue. But there are some bigger picture things here that are contributing to a perception of Purdue football, right or wrong, that is really problematic right now. And we're going to get into those here momentarily, because it all started with a change at defensive coordinator. But if you don't, be sure, follow the show on Twitter, on X, whatever you want to call it, at Boilers Beyond. We'll be talking all things Purdue football through the portal here. We'll be talking all things Purdue basketball as the Boilermakers begin Big Ten play here after a nice end to non-conference play. Be sure to follow there, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and if there's anything you want me to talk about on the show, please DM it to me there on Twitter at BoilersBeyond, or you can email the show, boilersandbeyondpod@gmail.com. I get a lot of great interaction from you guys. Send me over stuff. We're here to talk all things Purdue sports. Let me know what you want me to talk about. But what I wanted to get into here today is that right now, the perception of Purdue football and the perception of Purdue's athletic department is that it is agnostic at best towards the football program, towards the success of Purdue football. It's a real problem. It's something that Purdue can't have. It's something that Purdue can't afford. If you're listening to a podcast about Purdue sports, I probably don't need to explain to you why it is of the utmost importance that Purdue put its best foot forward, that Purdue be substantially better than it has been the last two seasons on the football field. But, plain and simple, Purdue can't do this anymore. Purdue can't live in the bottom of the Big Ten and expect for everything to just be okay. You can't do that. And there's too much money at stake. The future of college athletics are far too murky. Purdue has to dramatically improve on the football field. And right now, the perception among the fan base is A, that Purdue won't improve, and B, that Purdue isn't trying particularly hard to improve. And I'm not here to say whether that's right or wrong. What I'm here to do today is say, hey, that is the perception of Purdue. That is accurate. It doesn't take much. You can go on Twitter. You can go on message boards. You don't need to go much further than that to find what feels like the majority of the fan base just in a really, really bad spot when it comes to the football program right now. And it was exemplified as clear as day back, it would have been Friday the 19th or so, when Purdue announced the hire of Kevin Kane as the new defensive coordinator. Mike Shear departed the day prior. It was described as a mutual decision. I don't know what the deal was there. None of my business. Nonetheless, that's a defensive coordinator that came along from UNLV with Barry Odom. Some connections to Missouri as well with Barry Odom. And he departs on good terms, it seems. And Kevin Kane replaces him. If you're not familiar, Kevin Kane was the defensive coordinator for Purdue under Ryan Walters back in 2023 and 2024. I don't know how much of that defense was Kevin Kane versus Ryan Walters doing. Nonetheless, just the X's and O's aside, the optics of this could not be worse. The optics of Purdue dipping back into a pool that was just an abomination when Ryan Walters was at Purdue. The 2024 season, probably being the worst in school history, being right up there with 2013, probably some others back before my time. Just a terrible year that Purdue has tried so hard to get away from. Barry Odom was very adamant coming into this season that he wasn't addressing with his team what happened under Ryan Walters. That wasn't something he was interested in. That team was no longer the team that he was coaching. That the players that Purdue has weren't a part of the Ryan Walters era. He wanted to turn the page on that. But then this hire comes in and almost reflects otherwise. I'm sure there's a good reason why Barry Odom made this move. Kevin Kane has been around a long time. He's made a number of stops. This is going to be Barry Odom's defense, I'm sure. I'd be really surprised if he's hiring Kevin Kane to just come in and hand him the keys to everything. I don't know. And quite frankly, that's not the point of this conversation. The point is, you're coming off a really bad 2-year stretch. Your worst 2-year stretch since World War II. That was a really long time ago. And the fan base's mood is just downtrodden as can be. You don't make hires in firing decisions. Well, sometimes you make firing decisions, but you don't make hires to appease the fan base. That can't be your primary objective. This certainly wasn't a hire to appease the fan base, because the reaction has been really vitriolic, and I can't blame anybody. I can't blame anyone for looking at this as a really uninspired move, and it came to light this morning. I wake up and I look at my phone and I see that Northwestern's hiring Chip Kelly. And again, you never know how hires are going to work out. Kevin Kane could work out at Purdue. Chip Kelly could be a disaster at Northwestern. I don't know, but it's almost symbolic here of just some of the other programs in the Big Ten really seemingly going all in at a time where Purdue doesn't seem to be. And it kind of brings me into the next topic here of we're getting ready to enter the transfer portal. And a lot of the conversation about this is the money piece. It is the money piece of how much do you have to go out and build your roster? Because Pete Nakos over at On3 had a really good piece that he dropped kind of outlining what it costs to get a high-level player at each position. And when you start doing the math, when you need as much help as Purdue does, oh boy. And then you have to factor in that if you're Purdue, you've got to pay a premium for guys. Let's face it, playing time's a sell, but so is winning. And Purdue's coming off of 3 wins in the last 2 years, 0 Big Ten wins in the last 2 years. Purdue's in a really tough spot here. And the perception is, again, right or wrong, the perception is that Purdue doesn't have a whole lot outside of revenue sharing to spend on players. And of course, the revenue sharing is all that's technically permitted by the House settlement. However, it's abundantly clear that schools don't plan to follow that. There was a really good piece in The Athletic done by Stuart Mandel where he talked to several folks around the industry, and it's abundantly clear. Nobody believes in this revenue sharing salary cap, so to speak. Almost the majority of programs seem prepared to go above and beyond that, whether it's by the rules or not. You've seen this in some coaching hires. LSU was abundantly clear when hiring Lane Kiffin that he would be getting significantly more than just a revenue sharing split to go acquire his roster. And I think so much of this with Purdue comes from the success of Indiana, where, and I really don't know how the math works on this, but 60 Minutes goes and profiles that Indiana spent $60 million on its football program this year. Now, that's not all players, but Indiana went and spent a lot of money on Fernando Mendoza. And the perception right now is that Purdue doesn't have that. And I don't know what's true and what's not. The one thing I will say here in Purdue's defense is that if Purdue does have some money outside of the traditional is not the right word. Nothing about this is traditional, but outside of the $20.5 million for rev share, about 14, 15 of that's going to go to football. If Purdue has money above and beyond that, Purdue is not the school that's going to kind of admit to squeaking the rules a little bit. That's not Purdue's MO. That's never going to be Purdue's MO. That's fine. The proof is in the pudding here. Talk is cheap. You can say all you want, but it has to be backed up by results. And that goes the other way, too. Barry Odom says he has everything he needs to win at Purdue. The personnel guys, Butler Benton and Brandon Lee, were at the National Signing Day press conference, and they said they have everything they need to win at a high level to compete for championships at Purdue. If that's the case, the proof is going to be in the pudding. Then you're going to see Purdue have a successful portal cycle and add more to this roster. Is that the case? I don't know. We're going to find out. But this perception is really hampered. And it's been okay for Purdue in basketball, but it always stuck out to me a little bit back when the Field of 68 was doing its preseason media tour, and it was at Purdue, and Jeff Goodman wrote about it over at On3, where Braden Smith, the story out of their visit to Purdue was, Braden Smith turned down so much more money elsewhere to stay at Purdue, which is great. It's a great story for Purdue. It's a great reflection on Braden Smith. It's a great embodiment of really how Matt Painter's program has been different over this time. But I don't know that it's the best thing when the story is your guys are taking such a discount to play at your school. I don't know. I don't know that that's always what you want to hear, but nonetheless, the Purdue has to be competitive here. And it brings me back to another piece from The Athletic that I read where a bunch of folks in the industry weighed in on the hardest/worst jobs, and Purdue came back as tied for the second worst job in the Power Four. And the main citation there was a lack of resources, a lack of financial resources to building a roster, stating that Purdue had, I think the line was that Purdue had the lowest amount of money to work with in the Big Ten. Well, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. If that's the case, then you're fighting the battle with your hands tied behind your back, with your legs bound. All of this is a real problem here, and we'll see. I don't know how much of it's true and how much of it is not, but right now Purdue has a real crisis on its hands where the fan base doesn't necessarily believe that Purdue is trying its hardest to win in football, and that can't be the case. That can't be reality. And while perception isn't always reality, sometimes it is. Purdue's trying to maintain some momentum here in the sense of the fans haven't left physically. The fans still sold out Ross-Ade Stadium or close to it a lot last year. That can't be taken for granted. We're a decade removed from some really, really awful crowds at Ross-Ade. Some really sparse turnouts being the norm in the Darrell Hazel years and towards the end of the Danny Hope years. And, as you're trying to fight that and you're trying to, I'm sure Purdue's trying to fundraise here and you're trying to sell this, and it's a real chicken or the egg thing. I know in the early ages of NIL, which I guess was 3 or 4 years ago, I don't think Purdue was particularly successful in raising a ton of money, and some of that's on Purdue, but some of that's just the fact that Purdue fans might not have been super interested in donating to it. That's part of it too. If you're not subscribed over at Gold and Black, I obviously encourage you to do so, given that I spend time working there. Tom Dienhart's chat session last week on Saturday was just tremendous. Painted a really good picture of where Purdue is and where Purdue is at with some of this stuff. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty. And I'm good friends with Tom. He's a fireball on some of this stuff, but the perception of all of this is really negative right now. And Purdue goes in to 2026. I'm sitting here. We have 26 hours left in the calendar year as I'm talking right now. Purdue's going to enter the calendar year of 2026 with almost everything on the line. I don't know that Purdue can bounce back from another really bad season without major changes. And I don't know that Barry Odom is the guy to blame here. I mean, some of this is bigger than Barry Odom, but you can't fire the players all the time. The coach gets a lot of the blame. If Purdue really struggles again next year, boy, is it a world of hurt. And the transfer portal opens here on Friday. I don't know what Purdue's going to do. You can look at every position group. There is not a position group that Purdue doesn't need help at. Quarterback is going to be the central topic, the central conversation about Purdue. Look, by all accounts, Purdue is really invested in Ryan Brown. There's a financial commitment there that what you can gather might be prohibitive of Purdue to go out and get a bona fide starter on the market. You look at some of Pete Nakos's estimates here over at On3. I mean, you're looking at $2 million, $3 million, $4 million for a really proven quarterback. I don't know that Purdue's about to go do that. But whether Purdue's right or not to bet on Ryan Brown, there needs to be competition brought in. There needs to be someone who can compete for the job. Whether that's a group of 5 guy, whether that is a FCS Division II guy coming up. You're looking for your Trinidad Chambliss. You're looking for your Gronowski at Iowa. You're looking for something like that. Or it's someone who was maybe a more highly touted piece who didn't work out or didn't get the job somewhere else. I don't know. But you can't just go into next year with no competition for Ryan Brown. You're losing Malachi Singleton. He's hitting the portal. You've got to find something in there to at least create competition. And if Ryan Brown wins the job, great. There are some traits he has that are really good. The second half of his season was not pretty. There were some good things in the first half. I don't know. It feels awful bold of Purdue to go into next year with Ryan Brown as the guy, so to speak. But hey, I don't know. I don't know. Purdue's staff isn't going into this blind. I'll say that much. These guys are professionals. They know what they're doing here. It's a big risk. And again, perceptionally, you're running it back with the quarterback that went 2-10 this year. It's not great, guys. It's not great. But again, we'll see if that gets proven wrong. Some other areas, the offensive line, obviously, losing Hank Purvis to the portal is a big deal. I'll just say this. Obviously, these guys who announced that they plan to enter the portal are able to come back. They're not for sure gone. I'd be really surprised if any of these guys came back, especially some of these proven pieces. A lot of times those feel like they have their destination already figured out. A lot of times they feel like they are probably getting paid handsomely, and they know what they're walking into from a financial standpoint. Offensive line needs help. Your running back room is really barren. I thought losing Jerron Thomas to the portal was a big blow. He didn't play much, but you heard some pretty good things about him. Concord High School product up in Elkhart. Those are the guys you want to keep, and I get it. You know, I've had people tweet at me saying essentially no one on a 2-10 team is must keep, and I get that. I get that sentiment, and it's not like I disagree wholeheartedly, but at some point you have to build around something. You have to have some type of stability to build. And you have new position coaches, you have a new offensive line coach, you're shuffling around your running back and wide receivers coaches. Now you have a new defensive coordinator. What will the staff look like there? Are there more staff changes to come? Boy, you got to have some stability. And when you're replacing a ton of players and you're replacing assistant coaches, man, there's not a lot of stability there. It gets difficult. Wide receiver, same deal. It sounds like Nitro Tuggle's going to be back. That's a big guy to keep. He's talented. He had his struggles with drops this year, but there's talent there, and you can't teach talent. Past that, though, it's pretty thin. Michael Jackson's gone. E.J. Horton's gone. You got some guys that can slide up. You know, Corey Smith. There's not much. There's not a ton. Jesse Watson's back. He had some drop issues. Small guy. Tight end is a real issue. George Burns a good player. I don't know that you can count on him being a contributor health-wise at this point. It's unfortunate. It is, but it is what it is. The offense as a whole, you need impact guys everywhere. But, man, you look at some of these spots, wide receiver, running back, offensive line, you need depth too. It's not an enviable spot that Purdue's in right now. I look at the defense, and it's a lot of the same. TJ Lindsey coming back from an injury, that's a good one to keep, but you lose Chops Harkless in the middle. Man, that one hurts. He's big, he's impactful. That's a huge blow. That's a really big loss. That all in all, that might have been your best player when you look at what you're trying to keep for next year's roster, which isn't necessarily the best reflection on what you have currently, but he's going to get paid nicely by somewhere decent. That's a big loss. Ian Jeffries is back, so the interior of your defensive line isn't a huge problem, but D'Amico Kennedy hit the portal. You need help there. The pass rush, same deal. You lose C.J. Nunnally. He was really good for you. Didn't have much else at that position. Purdue needs help. Badly. Linebackers, you keep Correa. Alex Sanford did some good things. Sanders Ellis, same deal. Need a little more speed there, and then the defensive backfield is a 5-alarm fire at this point. That losing Smiley Bradford is a big loss, and you need Hudari Hines to get better. You need Vanaz Cobb to get better. You need so much improvement there at so many different spots. Purdue's in the position right now that you really don't want to be in, to where you're looking at a roster that needs a massive influx of talent. Massive. It's a lot easier to do the portal thing when you feel decent about some position groups that you already have. And right now that doesn't exist. Right now, I don't know that there's any group that you look at and feel really good about if you're Purdue. And that's where this running on the hamster wheel continues, to where you're bringing in a ton of guys out of the portal every year, but you're bringing in so many that you have to spread your money around so many guys. And then you're not able to keep your best players, which, again, when you're losing Hank Purvis, when you're losing Chops Harkless, when you're losing Smiley Bradford, not great. It's not what you want to see. So I guess all in all here, the message I'm trying to convey, this episode's been a little choppy because I I really pivoted at the last minute on how I wanted to approach this episode. This year is make or break for Purdue. You can feel it among the fan base, and that's what matters. I mean, more than anything, if you lose the fans, you've already lost. And it might not mean that Barry Odom gets fired after this year. I don't think he would. But Purdue has to find a way to be a lot better. You look at this 2026 schedule, and I don't know when the Big Ten's going to release this thing. I think every other conference might have at this point. The SEC did a month ago. The ACC did a month ago. I don't know when the Big Ten's going to release this schedule, but it's more manageable. It's not great. You still play Wake Forest and Notre Dame in the non-conference. Some would say that's signing your own death certificate. I don't know how much I'd argue with them, but you get some breaks in Big Ten play. No Ohio State, no Michigan, no USC. Washington comes to you. You look at Wisconsin and Maryland, those are home games. Those are also fired coach situations in waiting. Maybe. You don't know. But it's not going well for Fickle at Wisconsin. It's really not going well for Mike Loxley at Maryland. Well, those two have just completely quit. There need to be wins here. Coaching is important, and I get it. You can't overstate the value of coaching. I'm a little bit different situation in the NFL, but just look at the Bears. There is no pep talk in the world, though, that makes incapable players capable of performing at the level they're being asked to. And right now, Purdue has not had a roster. In 2023, it didn't. And here this past year, it didn't. And really in 2024 either. That was capable of making bowl games like we see on TV right now. Of competing in the Big Ten. That hasn't existed. And you can see it. You see the good coaching bring things out of rosters that aren't great. Look at Jeff Brom, what he did at Purdue. I mean, those rosters weren't always great, but Purdue was able to have success because it played to its strengths really well. And right now, Purdue's got to find every way it can win on the margins. I mean, this is Oakland A's Moneyball in the sense of maybe Purdue is in a spot where it's got to really pinch pennies, but also Purdue has to, to quote Jonah Hill here, identify all these inefficiencies and identify these areas where Purdue can win on the margins. It's really hard to do in football. It's not basketball. It's not baseball. Football is the ultimate game of attrition. It's really difficult to do so, but Purdue's got to be all hands on deck here because 2026 is a crucial year, a absolutely massive year into the future of Purdue football and into really the investment level that fans are going to show to this program. And Purdue's gotta improve vastly. I did want to touch just momentarily here. Next week, we'll really do a deep dive into Purdue basketball entering conference play. Purdue restarts Big Ten play again on Saturday up at Wisconsin. I'll be at that game, actually. I'll be in Madison for that. Look, this is a game, just this Wisconsin game. You got to have it. These are the games that win Big Ten titles. I've said it before, for all of the importance that's going to come on Purdue playing against Michigan this year, on Purdue playing against Michigan State and Illinois this year, Big Ten titles are won when you win those road games that aren't complete cakewalks, but aren't your bear traps that you're walking into. And thankfully for Purdue, it doesn't have any real bear traps on the road this year. But this is a Wisconsin team that's credible enough. It hasn't been particularly impressive to this point, but there are players on the roster that Nolan Winter, John Blackwell, Nick Boyd, the San Diego State transfer. Some good players Wisconsin has here. And, the resume's thin right now. No top 50 Ken Pom wins. Got splattered by Nebraska. Got splattered by BYU. Go do it. Go into the Kohl Center and get that win. Take care of business. You look at where Purdue's at here. Through 13 games, Purdue had a really bad second half against Iowa State. Purdue had a pretty mediocre first half against Iowa State. Purdue had a couple of subpar performances without Trey Kaufman-Renn. Past that, Purdue's looked really, really good. And everything's on the table here for Purdue in the second half. We'll dive a little more into conference play next week. Look around the league. Look at what Purdue's going to have to do. But, guys, that's all I've got for today. Thanks for spending time with me. I know this was a little bit of a winding road of an episode, but I hope you get the point. If you'd like me to dive more into some areas, let me know. Send me a message on Twitter @BoilersBeyond. Email me, boilersandbeyondpod@gmail.com. Until next time, guys, take care. We'll talk soon, and Happy New Year.